Welcome to Conversations with Big Rich. This is an interview-style podcast. These interviewed are all involved in the off-road industry. Being involved, like all of my guests are, is a lifestyle, not just a job. I talk to past, present, and future legends, as well as business owners, employees, media, and land use warriors, men and women who have found their way into this exciting and addictive lifestyle we call off-road. We discuss their personal history, struggles, successes, and reboots. We dive into what drives them to stay active in off-road. We all hope to shed some light on how to find a path into this world that we live and love and call off-road.
Whether you're crawling the Red Rocks of Moab or hauling your toys to the trail, Maxxis has the tires you can trust for performance and durability. 4 wheels or 2. Maxxis tires are the choice of champions because they know that whether for work or play, for fun or competition, Maxxis tires deliver. Choose Maxxis. Tread victoriously.
Have you seen 4Low magazine yet? 4Low magazine is a high-quality, well-written, four-wheel drive-focused magazine for the enthusiast market. If you still love the idea of a printed magazine, something to save and read at any time, 4Low is the magazine for you. 4Low cannot be found in stores, but you can have it delivered to your home or place of business. Visit 4lowmagazine.com to order your subscription today. On today's episode of Conversations with Big Rich, I'll be talking with 4 generations of off-roaders. This is the Andy DeVercelly family, and all of them are Andys. So on the air, we have Andy 2, 3, and 4, and 5. And this is going to be an interesting conversation with a legendary off-road racing family. Hello, guys. Let's see how this goes with all this traffic.
Sounds great, Rich.
All right. So we have Austin 2. I'll start with you. You're 93 years old now, lived a long off-road racing life, it sounds like. Where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in New York City.
In New York City?
In Long Island, yeah.
Okay. And did you spend a lot of time there, or how did you get into off-road racing?
I got drafted into the Marine Corps during the Korean War, and wound up in California. And in California, that's when I got involved in going to the desert with buggies and playing in the sand. And then when the first Baja 1000 came up, I got involved in it.
Right, and that was in the bullfighter rig?
Yeah, the bullfighter is my car. And I got that name because in the first Baja 1000, I hit a bull on a highway just before LaPaz, and they gave me the name Bullfighter.
And so you were in the race with your dad, which was actually Andy 1. Is that correct?
Yeah, my dad won that race, and I finished third.
Okay, so you finished third after hitting a cow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty good. Because I've seen pictures of the buggy, and it was mostly fiberglass on was it a Volkswagen chassis?
Yes.
Okay. And you must have had a pretty good stout bumper there, or you had some repairs on course.
I didn't understand that.
Did you have a lot of repairs to make to finish the car, to finish the race course after hitting the cow?
I'm going to help him out with this. After he hit the bull, he had spun the car out, and they flattened all the tires on the car going off the road. He broke his neck.
Oh.
And they ended up putting him. He was kind of not doing so well. They put him back in the car, and they crossed the finish line for a finish.
Okay.
And the bullfighter wasn't put together until the 68 1000. They drove an open buggy with a single hoop car, and that's why he broke his neck, as the bull came up and over the car and hit him in the head.
Oh, geez. That's a rough way to start.
Yeah, it certainly was.
And so from the wreck happened about what, 80? I from what I read, about 80 miles from the finish.
No, it was only about 30 miles from the finish line.
Oh, 30 miles from the finish line.
Yeah.
And they got you back in the car, and you were able to finish with a broken neck.
Right.
Oh, that's an Ironman right there. I can't even imagine what that would have been like.
Exactly. My grandfather actually Ironman that race. My dad was with a partner.
Okay. And let's talk a little bit about Andy number 1 then. How did he get into the racing? Was it, I mean, if number 2 was born in the New York area and came out to the West Coast in the Marine Corps and got into off-roading, how did number 1 get started in that?
Well, number 1 was a midget racer.
Okay.
Back east, he drove for midgets back there, and he even came to California one time and drove in Balboa Park.
All right.
At the racetrack there. And then when he come out here when I was in the service, he come out here and brought the family out, and I got him involved in going to the desert. And that's what got him involved eventually into off-road racing.
And then so he moved out here full-time as well?
Yes.
Okay. And how old were you when you were in 68, driving that race, that Baja 1000?
What was your age?
When?
The first 1967 Baja 1000.
Oh, it was 67,000. What was my age?
He was born in 31.
Okay. All right. So
So that's 36.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Just for reference. All right. And then, so then when did Andy number 3 come along?
I started racing in roughly around 1970.
And how old were you then?
I was born in 54. I was 16.
How about let's go to Andy number 4?
All right, you there? Sorry about that. I'm tooling around in the shop and working. And
okay, no worries. No worries. I'm trying to get how old were you when you started off-road racing?
About the same age as my dad, so 16 as well.
Okay. Nice. And number 5, you're about the same then?
No, actually, we got number 5, and he's only 12. So.
Oh, he's only 12 right now. Okay.
He still hasn't had his actual first off-road race in the desert, but we started him in what you call mini-dwarf cars.
Okay. When
he was 10, and he races on a dirt circle track with that for a couple of years.
Excellent. Okay.
And then so that, and then as my dad referenced earlier, he just did a season of go-karts because he grew out of the mini-dwarf car.
All right. Okay. So we'll go back to number 2. Your career off-road racing, 67. When was the last race that you raced?
He ran with me in the Nora 1000 in 2014. Okay. He drove the first 100 miles on that Nora rally.
All right, on the multi-day stage race, right?
Yes. That was what, 8 years ago?
Almost 10 now. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, almost 10 years. Yes.
Very good. Very good. That's 83 years old. That's awesome.
And by the way, we ended up, the whole family was involved with driving in that, from Dad starting and me riding to me driving to my son flying in and he was driving, to my daughter was driving and my wife was riding with me. So we had a great time on that.
Oh, a nice family adventure. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was very awesome. And we ended up winning our class on that particular run that year. So that was a good finish for that bullfighter with its history of wins.
Excellent. And so from the bullfighter being run in 68 or 67, how many years continuous did it race to begin with? Roughly.
It roughly ran the Baja 1000 consistently until like 74.
Okay.
With multiple wins in the Baja 1000 for 68, 69. It won the first, it's won the MIT 400. It's won the Baja 500.
Borrego.
In some of the rough Borrego races in Ocotillo Wells area in De Anza Borrego Park.
And it was with those Volkswagens, were you guys running a 1600 cc motor, or were you running something a little more aggressive?
A little more, but not much. I mean, back then those cars were, they weren't coming out with the big engines yet. Plus, we were enjoying what we were driving, and Dad was doing a hell of a job with really running well. I mean, I've got a list of wins, that go on pretty well for that car.
And so, you number 3, you raced it as well.
I raced it for the first time in the 75 Baja 1000.
In 75, okay. And what were you racing besides the bullfighter before that, when you got started in 1970?
I actually drove with my grandfather at the MIT 400 in 70.
All right. And what kind of car were you in then?
We were in a Volkswagen, a buggy. A homemade buggy.
Okay.
Two-seat buggy.
Has that been your primarily race vehicles all these years, has been the Volkswagen race buggies?
Well, from buggies to the Baja Bug, the 5/1600 class.
Okay.
And then my dad's raced Jeeps, and we've raced Class 2, and the two-seat unlimited cars, and quite a bunch of different vehicles.
Okay. So let's talk about the original race, number 2. When you hit the bull, before hitting the bull, what was the race like for you?
Oh, it was something else. I tell you, I really wasn't down in Baja, and I had no idea at all where I was going. And there ain't no street signs down there. And how I even got to LaPaz, I'll never know. It was something else.
So they had wood stakes with arrows on them?
No, they didn't have nothing.
Oh, how did you figure out from checkpoint to checkpoint?
Very difficult. Sometimes we were on the wrong road and we had to come back and take a different road. There ain't no street signs, and there ain't nothing but dirt all the way. And sometimes we could see the Pacific Ocean, and sometimes we could see the Sea of Cortez.
So it was just using a paper map?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, I when I went before the race, I took a compass with me. And 2 or 3 times I took the compass out to look at it and to see which we were heading in the right direction, and we were heading north.
Right.
And it happened to me 3 times, and I finally threw the compass away.
Besides hitting the cow, what was the most memorable part of that race? Was there something that really stood out, like, a location or a view, or?
Well, down below San Ignacio, we got caught in some real bad silt, and I lost control of the car and wound up hitting a big cactus. And when I did, the cactus branches came down and landed on my lap and my co-pilot's lap. And we were picking out the cactus out of our body when my dad drove by. and wanted to know if we were all right. And we told him we were okay, and he took off. And we picked the cactus out and then went down the road further.
That's not a comfortable feeling.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And so at that point, you were in front of your dad.
Oh, we started in front of him.
Okay. And how, after the amount of time that you were down with the broken neck and the accident with the cow, what was going through your mind at that point? I would imagine, besides the pain, did you think you'd be able to finish the race?
Did you think you could finish after you hit the bull?
Actually, when I hit the bull, it knocked me out, and my co-pilot and some friends some guys that we knew that were down there just helping people. They're the ones that came along and helped my co-pilot get me back in the car and blew the tires up and stuff, and then helped my partner drive the car back into the finish line.
Okay. And then once you finished that race, were you flown back to the States, or did you have to, come back the pavement to see doctors then, or how did all that work?
Well, when the race was all over and everything, everybody decided everybody had to drive their cars home. But I flew home with the people that put the race on.
He got in the plane with Ed Perlman.
Okay. All right, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that'd be a lot better, because I thought, man, that's at least a 2 or 3 day drive back then, coming back, and it wasn't paved. That'd have been rough.
It wasn't.
And so, so what was some of the more memorable races after that? That you said you did the Mint and some of the Borrego races and the Baja 500. What were things that stood out in your mind then?
Well, actually, once my neck healed up and everything, I wore a brace on my neck for about 2.5 months, and then we started to build the bullfighter, the photograph car, and to get ready for the next 1,000, and went down for the second 1,000 and won it.
Very good. So 3rd place after hitting a bull, breaking your neck, and then coming back the next year and winning it in your class.
Yeah, we won our class in 1,000.
And did you get lost as often in that first race as you did the second? Or
no.
No, you better idea what was going on?
For the second 1,000, I turned around and I went down for a pre-run, so I had an idea for the second 1,000 where I was going.
Pre-runs are important, yes.
Sure.
You don't have to backtrack as often.
Yeah.
So number 3, how about you? What were some of your most memorable races?
To be honest, the first Mint I drove with my grandfather, I rode with him first, and then he was getting sick. He didn't realize that he had cancer coming upon him. And normally he's an Ironman guy, so he was driving all the races down in Mexico and everywhere else that we did. I mean, we were all over the place, but he would drive the car, and he wouldn't let nobody else drive the car. He would just have passengers. So that race, he got sick after the first lap, and then he let me in behind the behind the wheel, and he stepped out of the car and let me finish the race.
Wow, that
was memorable.
I would imagine. And
yeah,
what was the competition like back then? Was there a lot of buggies like yours in that class? You guys that was class 2?
Yes, yeah. There was there was quite a few. I mean, back in the day, there were production and non-production cars, and they were classified differently. But there was always a fair share, a handful of cars that were running.
Okay.
And it made the competition good, and and that makes for good racing.
Right. And how is it just something that happened where everybody just fell into the off-road loving it, or is it just like myself? First time I went off-roading was in 1982, and I was up on the Rubicon Trail, and after that I was just hooked.
Yes.
So it just was a family affair just from day one for all of you being hooked on off-road.
Right. I used to go pre-running with my dad in the early days. We would just have, just 2-seat open buggies to go pre-run in the 60s. That's what we used. And once you go off-road, and we went down to Mexico in those years, it was such a nice, pleasant, I mean, it still is. But back then it was just, I think we were just blessed to have such the freedom and being in that country, and all the people are so nice to be with. And it's just a wonderful thing, and the feeling that you get when you go down there.
Yeah, my first time to Baja was in 2003, the year they filmed Dust to Glory. I worked with BFG on one of their pits, and
okay.
I was just absolutely amazed. It was the Wild West. There was a lot less pavement than there is nowadays, but there was still pavement, and it was just a thrill being down there. And I haven't been down in the 50th was the last race that I was at, and
okay.
and I helped pit for some cars down there then. But it's I've always really enjoyed Baja. I've never felt unsafe there. I know that there's been all these rumors or all these stories about people, being hijacked and other things. Have you guys ever come across any of that?
Never had a problem down there.
Nope.
We might have had an incident or two, but we overcome and keep moving forward, but never felt harmed or endangered at any time.
Right. Yeah, I think we all have incidences.
We do. Those are part of the deal. It's a challenge. You overcome what comes up, and that's what makes the sport so special.
Yeah, because it's not in your backyard.
Right.
You got to make that travel.
You do.
Number 4, are you near the microphone?
Yep, I'm here.
So let's talk a little bit about your racing history. You got started at 16. What was your first race?
So I think my first race was called the King of the Desert out here in the Southern California Imperial Valley Desert.
All right. And how did that go for you?
Really well. I don't think we had any issues, and that's what got me hooked.
And so you've actually made this now a career. You're building cars or at least engines. Is that correct?
Yes, I do engines.
Engines. And number 3, was it a off-road a career for you too, or did you have an outside career?
I had an outside career.
Okay. And number 4, how long have you been in business building engines?
So I've actually been the business owner since 2011. I worked for the previous owner of the business, starting in high school and then off and on, and until I figured out, it's something I wanted to stick with in I would say my mid-20s, and then the opportunity came up to purchase it, and I did that, and I've just been grinding at it ever since.
And you're building Volkswagen engines, or are you building other types?
I build VWs, and Hondas are my main staple.
VWs and Hondas, okay. And the name of your business is?
Major Performance.
Major Performance, okay.
Yep, the original owner's name was Ken Major, and just kind of a catchy name, and worked out well for him, and so we're keeping it going. Excellent.
And number 3, you're a few years older than I am, so I would imagine you're retired now.
Yes.
And what did you do for a career?
Owned a business in Coronado, California, mechanical body shop and a tow company that I purchased from my father when he retired. And then in 2002, we kind of, the property got so expensive in Coronado, I went to work for an insurance company, Wawanesa Insurance Company, as one of their re-inspectors. And now that I've retired, I get the pleasure and the fun of it all to go work with my son when I'm not busy doing other things at this point. So,
excellent. And you said your daughter has raced with you as well.
In that Nora race, she did. Yes,
okay.
She got to drive, and I was riding with her, and she did a good job. It was fun.
And your wife as well, you said?
She rode with me for the last 100 miles of the Nora. And she swears she loves me, but she'll never do it again.
Was she trying to point out which way to go?
No, she gives, when you're racing or doing rally or whatever, I guess you change a little bit, so
oh yes,
you're a little more competitive.
There's a reason that I am not a racer, and there's a reason that I don't play board games. I'm not a good winner, and I'm not a good loser, and I'm a worse winner, if you know what I mean.
I do.
Yeah, I played darts for a while, and I was not. I would say that most of the people I played against did not like me, at least while we were playing darts. And we went and did one competition, my wife and I, under the guise of doing it for our magazine. We have an off-road magazine. And she wanted to try to compete once. And I said, this isn't going to work out well. She goes, we're just doing this as media. It's for fun. And I was like, yeah, okay. So this race was basically, you did one lap, and then the second lap, there was stages where you had to do technical driving skills or some things like that. Like there's a blindfold section you had to do. Just some crazy little things. Well, there was 12 of us, I think, or 13 of us in this event. I started off second to last, or third to last, and when the two cars behind me went past me, the last car that went past me was a friend of mine, and I just couldn't handle knowing that I was in last place. And I got on the throttle. And my wife instantly asked me, like, what are you doing? And I said, we're racing. And she goes, no, we're not racing. She made me stop and eat lunch.
You must be hangry, huh?
She definitely got hangry. I think she just figured I needed to take a break and let people get far enough out in front of me to where I didn't feel I had to catch them. But that's why I'm an event promoter instead of a racer.
Okay, all right.
So I can understand your wife and you in that 100 miles. I can just see it.
Yeah. And I'd like to mention I had a good friend of mine too, Mike Sanford, which drove a section of the race too, or the rally, which was great because we did make it a real family affair. It was a wonderful time.
It sounds like it. I've never done Nora. I've talked to Mike Perlman about doing it, and I interviewed him as well a few months ago, and we talked about maybe doing it together even. And I'm not sure how that would go. Like I said, I think I'm better off being a promoter than a racer, but maybe we'll see.
You better go with your gut,
That's what I figured.
Yeah.
So number 4, are you still racing or are you just engine building?
Yeah, actually, I am still racing. I just raced a full season of Score last season.
And you're racing 1600 or 12s or?
1600 is the class we raced last year.
1600, okay.
Mm-hmm.
In a 2-seater or a single-seater?
2-seater.
2-seater, okay. And somewhere in there, you, number 2 or number 3, you said that you were racing the like a 5 Volkswagen. Was that correct?
A 5/1600 class. Yeah.
Oh, 5/1600.
Me and my dad wanted to build a 5/1600, so we would both get into racing together back in the 80s, and we did 88, 89. And we started in 85 with that car, but we ended up winning 2 score championships with that car. And just had a blast once again with the family. It was just a wonderful time. Me and my dad shared a lot of good times, and we did really well.
Right. And then bringing the kids along, grandkids. Is it still a family thing, racing? Do you get out there and able to support your son while he races?
Oh, every time we go to Mexico, I'm right there with him. I'm the chase guy. I'm the old chase guy now. So and I don't think Andy mentioned they did win last year's championship for the 1/2/1600. It was a tough battle, but you know what? It's a challenge, and they did well and finished every race and won a few of them, but finished every one of them to get the points.
Excellent. That's an accomplishment. It really is.
It is. I'm very proud of him.
So when is number 5 going to start tearing it up in the dirt off-road?
So as far as 4 wheels, I mean, he's still a few years out. He's just tall enough now to start learning. But obviously his age is what will keep him from actually entering events. So, you know, we're really, we're going to try the dirt bike thing for a little bit, because I believe those skills are very fundamental to being a good off-road racer. So hopefully by the time he's 15, you know, there'll be some opportunities for him to be able to try it out.
Excellent. And is he riding motorcycles now?
Yes.
Okay. Do you, I don't know what the pedigree is with you guys riding motorcycles, but I got to put a shout out to Jimmy Lewis and his riding school that he does out of Pahrump. I know he trains Ricky Brabeck with navigation skills and stuff. So when they go to like Dakar, are you going to be getting him any training, anything like that?
Yeah, so we're just doing, he's still in the beginner stages, and we're just doing some more basic fundamental motocross stuff. And then we ride trails out here where I live, out in the hills. So he's still very new to the sport, but we're really looking to commit and push on it, you know, and stay at it, because we're not team sports, we're motorsports people. So, you know, really want to put the time in. Excellent.
I'm glad to hear that. It's I think that sports like this for young men is important, and even ladies. Young men have a tendency more to get into trouble, I think, in those younger years leading into high school, and sports like this keep those activities behind one. You know, it's harder to get in trouble if you're off road.
Yeah, because what do they say? Racing's for people that love work and hate money. So, you know, you're always racing, you're always broke, and you're always working. So you really don't have much time or energy to get into trouble. You know.
There you go. I found it. I guess I found things too late.
Well put. Yeah.
So what is what's the future for all of you? Just being with family and getting the most out of everything?
Yeah, I would definitely say that's, you know, but for us to be able to do this sport, we definitely have to have each other's support, because it doesn't work any other way. So as long as we're, you know, staying involved in racing and working at it, then we're going to do it all together.
Excellent. And is there anything that, I mean, we didn't dive into like stories at races. Do any of you have some really great stories besides like hitting a bull? That
I mean, that one's pretty tough to top, but I mean, Grandpa has told us plenty of stories by the campfire when we were young. So,
Well,
I'm
share
not
some
sure.
of those campfire stories that you remember. What's the one you remember the most?
I don't. I mean, mainly just a lot of them of him going down there. Like my dad said, it was a different time back then, and I know he would just go, "Hey guys, I'm leaving for a few days, and I'll see you when I get back," and he would just go down there, no chase crew, super minimal, and just kind of wing it and get through it. And you're just, hearing that as a young man, you're just like, wow, that's some adventure right there, and you don't do things necessarily the same way these days, but there's still a lot of that spirit that lives on with doing those kinds of trips.
Right. And number 3, did you have those kind of adventures down there on your own?
Oh yeah. I used to go down in the early '70s when I wasn't racing. I was pitting for my father. I remember going down many a time, and just it was freedom back then. Dad would give me. He goes, "Here's $200. I want you to go down there." We'd spend a week down there, going down past Portositas or going down past the Three Sisters, the Gonzaga Bay area, Chapala, Dry Lake, and even all the way down to LaPaz, chasing and supporting him when he was racing pretty full time with other people as well. It just there's so many races. It's a lifetime of racing that we've done. And there's so many good stories from one thing to another. From from me and my sister being over at the starting line for the Baja 1000 in '67 at the Bull Ring, to going down to the starting line at Ensenada, and then going to the Stardust 711, going to the Mint races. Every one of them have nice little stories to them, and not all of them are the winning stories, but it's the ups and downs of racing that you figure out things as you go on.
Right.
You learn from those things,
Yeah, I think it was Sue Mead that said that she used to like to interview not who came in first, but those that didn't finish or came in near last, because those are the ones that had stories to tell.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not the polished race that everybody thinks. A good example is my son just running the Baja 1000 this year or last year. We had trials and tribulations on that run. It was good until it wasn't. But the whole objective of that was that we're leading the points and they had to finish. So it took us 48 hours to get across that finish line. But the whole point was don't ever give up. You push forward until you get it done. And that's what we did. Very proud of my son to continue to keep the car moving, and make the rest of the team energized to make that happen. I mean, people, after X amount of hours and staying up all night, people start to dwindle on you.
Oh yes.
And you just need to keep ensuring them, no, we're going to do this. Let's stick to the plan and finish it. So let's keep pushing forward. And that's what we did. That was a big race as far as all the races I've been in. That was a good one. That was one for the books, I'd say.
So what did you guys think about that race, starting in LaPaz and finishing in Ensenada?
You can take that from there, Andy.
I thought it was awesome. I think they should do it just about every peninsula run.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, that was, and everybody I talked to said the same thing.
You liked being able to finish closer to home?
That was one of it. But the big thing was the energy that the people have down there for score and the 1,000 was just next level, and I don't know if it's because it was something different for them, because they do have a really big following for the local race series that they do down there, but
Code,
of course, the score Baja 1000 is just, it's something else. It's not like anything else. So I feel like that was a big part of the experience, was just all the energy the locals had. I mean, I pre-ran on my dirt bike the weekend before, and it felt like you were in the race. There was so many people on the course.
Already pre-camping.
Yeah, they were just hanging out. They wanted to stop you, take pictures, ask for stickers, just whatever. They just wanted to interact, and it was really cool.
Excellent. Excellent. I hadn't heard that personal view yet of the race. I sit on the board of directors with like Mark McMillan and some others, and I can't say that everybody was in agreement before the race about starting in LaPaz and coming up. I'll have to ask that question now that the race is well over and everybody's had a chance to digest it. I think that'd be an interesting read to see what people think.
Yeah. I mean, everything's got their positives and negatives, but I felt like overall the experience was very unique.
And you'd like to see it done that way, every 3 years when they do a point to point, huh?
Yeah, I don't, I felt like it was definitely worthwhile doing again. And my personal opinion is I would for sure go back and do it if they do it that way again.
Okay. Did you let Roger know that?
No, I didn't.
I'll talk to him for you.
But I do deal with their tech department a lot, being that I build engines, and I got rules to deal with, and I have a good relationship with them because I've been in it so long, and I do tell them, I personally thought it was awesome, but I think Roger's not a very accessible guy.
True, very true. He rock crawled in my rock crawling series, so we built a relationship there, and then I went and helped him at races like the when he first bought HDRA. And then went down and helped with registration and tech during the first couple of thousands that he did. So it's, but I only talk to him once a year during the galas, the Ormhoff galas. So, but nice guy, very businesslike for sure.
Yeah, I've heard the same. I think I dealt with him a little bit in the beginning when he first bought the series, and he was trying to figure it all out and, talking to people in the industry with different challenges. But other than that, probably the last time I talked to him was 10 years ago.
Okay. And anything else that we haven't touched base on that you guys would like to talk about?
Yeah, I've got a little story I'd like to tell you about what happened to me, and I was racing the Baja 500.
Absolutely.
And I was in the Baja Bug. And I caught up with a red Baja Bug and finally got around him and was going down the road and looked in the rearview mirror, and here's this white Baja Bug right on my butt. I thought to myself, where the hell did he come from? So I kind of eased off and let him go by, and as he went by, I noticed the back of his car was all red.
So it was the car that you had passed.
Yeah, it was the car I just passed.
And you saw the red as you came up onto him, so he was two-toned. White front, red back.
Yeah, you got it.
So he faked you out a little bit. Did you get back around him?
Huh? Oh, yeah, I went back around him. In fact, I won the 500 that year.
Excellent. I guess that's an idea. The two-toned, so if that ever happens again, I like that. Okay. Well, anything else, guys?
Well, I can't really think of anything.
I mean, there's lots of else, but it's, what else? Any specific topics you wanted to cover still, or?
Well, people like to hear the stories on the races, what happened, something that's very memorable during any race.
Yeah. I do have a good one that's like we talked about. It's not the one of where you have the perfect day and you get the checkered first. Mine involves when I was trying to make a name for myself as an engine builder versus just an employee. I don't remember, Volkswagen was putting up quite a bit of money, and I think it was 2008. And they're putting up quite a bit of money for VW powered vehicles, and that's when they had their factory effort and everything.
That was the $10,000 bonus to the first Volkswagen powered finisher.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I remember
exactly
that
right.
race.
So, the guy that I was helping that year, we had a very, probably, I think it's the one and only time we've had this part fail inside the engine. And SCORE rule states you can do anything to repair the engine, but you cannot replace it completely, and you cannot replace the engine block. So we had a spare motor, and the owner said, I want to do the right thing in order to win the points and the money. So we took the spare engine apart and took the primary engine apart. We put the new parts in the primary engine, had it all back together. I think it took us about 6 hours. We stayed up all night in San Felipe doing it in the back of a truck. Finished. Bill Savage, who was the tech guy at the time, said, hey, your competitors are telling us, you guys had an engine failure, and, that you must replace the engine in order to finish. And we said, no, it's not true. And he says, okay, well, how do you prove it to me? I said, well, we'd have to take the motor apart to show the witness marks from the broken parts. And he said, you guys better start working. So we took the motor back out of the car at the finish line, completely disassembled it, showed him the evidence, and he shook our hands, said, congratulations, you guys won the championship.
Excellent. So, and did you guys win that first finishing Volkswagen motor then?
Yep. So we got the overall VW points and purse, and that was quite the experience. My dad was alongside us with that one as well.
So I have a story for you that works in that helped you guys then in that race. I was pitting and helping running communications for Pistol Pete in the number 2 trophy truck. And during that race, there was a 12 car that near, like I would imagine was like the last 100 miles or 150 miles, was running and trying to get around and be in behind and then back in front Pete. And Pete went to pass him, and he brake checked Pete in this 12 car, and Pete slid up over his engine cage and sheared off the carburetor or manifolds or however it was set up, and took the guy out of the race. Not on purpose. And then Pete finished the race. It was that race when he blew a ring and pinion and barely made it back in, and Robbie Gordon got around him for third place, I think, or second place or something. But we were, just outside the big finish, but we finished. And then the guy in the 12 car found Pete like 2 days after the race and punched him.
I think we've all read that story on one of the forums. That is a famous story, isn't it?
Yes. I was right around the corner. Me and Lance Clifford from Pirate 4x4, we were loading the truck with our gear going back and forth from the hotel, and we came around the corner, and there's Pete sitting on his butt on the ground. We were like, what's happened? He goes, I just got punched. And the guys that did it were gone. I mean, they didn't hang around. It was a sucker punch and run.
Oh my God.
He was a pretty big guy, so they probably knew we better get one in and get on the move.
He was a big guy. He was he was one of those guys that people love to hate, or you loved him, And I have to say, he was a really good friend. I miss him dearly. He was a character for sure. He wasn't afraid to tell anybody what he thought.
Oh yeah, I've been on the receiving end of that, just in regular conversation. Yeah, I hung around Cameron Steele a lot in those days, and of course he was in there, so
absolutely,
he definitely, not to mention his unique looks, but you just knew from the dude's personality, like, yep, he's everything everybody says about him.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I want to say thank you so much for spending the time and talking with us, and it was interesting having everybody on the phone at once and trying to get the conversations, and I hope everybody gets used to the whole 1, 2, 3, and 4 or 5 thing. But it was an experience for me. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yes, very much so. I really appreciate you taking the time, and it's a pleasure.
And I hope to get to meet you guys all in person someday.
That would be great. I'd love to meet you.
Yeah, likewise.
Well, if you guys ever get out to the Ormhoff Gala, the induction gala, look me up. I'm on the board of directors there, and love to share some more stories with you. Thank you.
Sounds
Thank
great.
you so much,
Thank you.
Rich.
All right.
You take care.
Okay, you all take care, Andes, and long live beautiful lives. How's that?
That's great. You as well.
Okay. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks, Rich. You too.
Okay,
All
thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that's another episode of Conversations with Big Rich. I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you could do us a favor and leave us a review on any podcast service that you happen to be listening on, or send us an email or a text message or a Facebook message, and let me know any ideas that you have, or if there's anybody that you have that you think would be a great guest, please forward the contact information to me so that we can try to get them on. And always remember, live life to the fullest. Enjoying life is a must. Follow your dreams and live life with all the gusto you can. Thank you.